Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast Natural Consultant. Today I'm so happy to be with a very special guest. He's a very special part of my journey. He's my mentor. He's been helping me along the way. I'm so grateful, and with my heart full of love for him and gratitude, I'm introducing you a fifth generation herbalist, Australian herbalist and naturopath, homeopath, and the creator, the founder of the Australian Bush Flower Essences. Welcome, Ian White.
Thank you, Sarah. So nice to talk with you.
I'm so happy to have you here, and we are very grateful because you are going to share with us today a lot of wisdom. We are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Australian Bush Flower Essences. So how are you? How have you been on this last year? Because we are celebrating this great accomplishment. How are you, Ian?
I'm very good, and we've been, traveling all around the world, in South America and Europe, around Australia, sort of, making the most of letting this 40th anniversary. So it's nice to be back home at the moment and before the next trip. So yeah, it's very exciting. And in fact, teaching in Garda on Lake Garda, we had a gift given to us of a lovely black leather embossed notebook, and they suggested we might want to give it to participants at the workshop to sign, give their message for the 40th anniversary.
Wow.
And we just received so many wonderful things that we took it to all the workshops in the rest of Europe and Japan. We've been using it here in Australia as well, so it's been really nice just getting some lovely messages from people.
How exciting, really. And looking back, how has your understanding of the essences and the way you teach practitioners, because we are all practitioners here, working with people, helping clients to go through a lot of challenges which happen during the day, in certain times of life. So how working with them evolved over these 40 years?
Yeah. And if I start with just the essence, then we'll move on to the second part of the question around the practitioners.
Yeah.
I think 40 years ago, when the essences started coming through, they were dealing with more the basic emotional states like self-esteem, fear, sadness, grief. And then what I've noticed is that as there's that need in the society, essences come down to address that need. And there was a period where there wasn't a new essence for 19 years, a bush essence. But in that time, a lot of the spiritual range of remedies came through. And then we had colophyllum, and also sedum came through. And they're almost like spiritual remedies in themselves, even though they're working with the flowers, and that very much doing with colophyllum, say with leadership, like having a clear sense of where you're going, but wanting to bring others with you. And wonderful. That was so quick. I'm impressed, Sarah. Wonderful. And it's getting people out of their comfort zone, having that connection with spirit to know where they're going, but then think, oh, that sounds a bit hard, or I'll do it tomorrow. It's like, no, you're doing it now, and get out of your comfort zone and go straight away. And also dealing with more tolerance, because I think since COVID, there's been a big split, both, in around the world, in governments, people supporting a left or a right wing, like in the United States. If you meet someone, you tell them if you're a Democrat or Republican. If you're with the other side to you, you dismiss the person. You don't even talk anymore and say, oh, why do you support that? I mean, there's just a dismissal. You're an idiot. And that's the thing, I think, with COVID. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or you've been brainwashed because you had the vaccine. So there's been this huge split, which I think has been a little bit deliberate as well. And I think what this essence is bringing about a tolerance to be aware of, communicate, interact with people, have that sense of curiosity with them. And sedum very much bringing in, anchoring in the higher self, which is so important to be really fully present and here, and to, again, that knowing what you're supposed to be doing and going on and doing it. Spirit really wants a lot of understanding and messages, coming to people. And I think Sedum is opening up that ability for people to bring through information from spirit and disseminate it. And wanting to be part of something very positive, working for a common good in that spiritual, and feeling wanting to connect with people, like-minded people, especially on that spiritual level. So it's really bringing people together. So, it's been worth waiting 19 years for these essences to start coming through, and that vast difference between those early days. And I go to Japan every year, and that the nuclear waste from Fukushima is getting into the water. It's traveling not just within Japanese waters, but it's depicted from Alaska all the way down to Chile now. And it's just really wonderful that there are essences, and that's one we use, the mulla dealing with radiation of all different sorts, whether it's electromagnetic, which we're getting 5G, or it's nuclear. Also with solar, like many of the people listening today, if they've been, in Europe during the last couple of months, that unprecedented amount of heat. It was 40 degrees when I was teaching in Germany, and it was for 3 days. And, like from your time in Australia, if we have a hot day, there's, a cooler wind will come at night. But in Europe, they weren't getting. So, people going and really getting advantage of the flowers like mulla to deal with that, dealing with the nuclear radiation. So, as that need arises, essences come down. So it's been wonderful to see that evolution. Wow. And I think when I started, I was a full-time practitioner. And as I got more and more busy going, traveling, making the essence, teaching about them,
so you've been going, sorry, Ian, you've been going in from working one-to-one to teaching, only teaching, right?
Oh, well, I still see some patients, but it's maybe a couple of weeks on Zoom. But so what I did when I stopped being a full-time practitioner, I looked at what were the things that I used the most in my practice. And so I've developed, in the workshops, teaching numerology, because I did the numerology chart of every patient I ever treat. And in 15 seconds, you see their strengths and challenges. I use kinesiology a great deal. So, we've run a workshop teaching how to muscle test, but then incorporating it for lots of different things I, teach in the workshop, so they can do the same thing, teaching for dyslexia or breaks in the aura or phobias and sabotages. So I think that's been certainly in the workshops a big change. And I've noticed some positive things and maybe some not so negative things. I think when I started teaching, we had maybe 10% males in the workshop. And I think that's dropped to about 5% now.
5?
Yeah, so it's really less men coming. Now, in Italy, it bucks the trend. We get a lot more than 5%. But, in other countries, it can be low. More in Brazil and Italy, I think they have the higher percentage of men. But it's getting less and less, which is a real shame.
Yeah, and it should be not that way, because obviously if we are going towards a more evolved human being, then it includes men. It should be exactly. So us as women, we should teach to our male kids how to become more aware about the spiritual side, the emotional side of the being, our being within ourselves. So even male have their role, important role towards society, the world, and women. So I can understand that, that's true. There are less men working on themselves. So what would that be the reason then?
Yeah. I don't know whether it's that avoidance of on an emotional level. Men feel more comfortable being in the intellect, or I'll do a prescribing on physical symptoms, or a prescriber a medicine or a supplement without going, into those deeper areas. And if, as we teach in our workshops, if you look at traditional medicines, Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine, been around for thousands of years, they say that 90% of our physical symptoms come from emotional or spiritual imbalances. So if you're not treating the cause, and like, you by all means do treat symptomatic, but get to the cause, that's so important. Otherwise, it's not an effective treatment. And I think that's the beauty of the work that we're both doing, teaching about the essences, letting people know that, okay, making that connection between the physical, what's behind it, why are they getting those physical symptoms, and looking at more of a causative treatment and a more effective treatment as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And so what's the most important message then you would like to pass on to the next generation of practitioners, since you've been working for so many years and you've been getting in contact with many, many practitioners along the way? What could be a very nice message?
I think that message that I was just saying, that to be a really good practitioner, you got to look at what's causing the problem, and have the tools then to know and go in there and treat it. And I think that it's very good that we can have knowledge of the essences, very good, but also trusting our intuition, that when you're working with someone, suddenly you get a sense of, how's your father? What's your relationship with your father like? And it seems like, where did that one come from? And then the person breaks down, starts crying. So it's like, trusting that intuition. And sometimes when I'm working with a client, you're working and an essence will pop into mind, and I'll just write down the bottom of the page and see, how at the end of, what are the essences which seem to be coming through intuitively, and also based on from what they've been saying. And as a medicine, as a modality, there's no side effects, which is such a wonderful thing. And I think that's one of the other important messages that wanting to pass on to practitioners, that knowing that you can do it safely and that you're not going to create any harm, it's to really let them know about that, to give them the confidence to go out and start prescribing, thinking, oh, I've only done one of the workshops, I don't know all the essences, maybe I'm not going to, there's a better remedy. And the thing I emphasize to people at my workshop, if you're just starting out, you'll only attract the people you can help. So they think, oh, why would someone come to me? I'm quite new, and people like Sarah been working, for so many decades in this area, maybe they'd all go to her. But you attract who you can help. The fact that they've come to you means you're the perfect person. You've got what they need, and to sort of really trust that, and to, people think, oh, I'll study more, then I'll be able to help people. But, I think go out now, and there's so many people you can help.
Exactly. What I can see as a parent, it's more about self-confidence. So they don't feel confident enough to really show themselves for who they are, as long as the intuition, they don't really trust their intuition. So it's so important to work on that part of the journey, about being really confident, and, as you said, attracting the right person that I can really help. So you can select the right essences, you can really feel and connect to that side of yourself, which leads you to choose then the right protocol also. So it's really important. And I see a lot of self-confidence missing, maybe because, as you said before, the society in which we are living, they are not, let's say, giving us this kind of potential action, or we don't take action sometimes. We are there thinking and not really taking action and doing the work that we need to do.
Yeah,
so that's
it's that procrastination, or
exactly
lack of belief in self, or it's too hard.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I've been,
you know, like
yeah.
when I started, my goal was for every household to have the essence, so the children get brought up with them. And you know what you're commenting about, a lot of the people not having the confidence. What I've starting to see more and more now in the workshops, where people asking, how many people here got brought up on flower essences? And we're seeing, you know, those children now getting into adulthood who put their hands up, and just telling them what a big difference, you know, it makes when, if you look at your childhood and some of the more difficult times, if your parents had have known about flower essence or known a practitioner who was working with flower essences, that you could have, you know, really traveled through and those difficult times. I mean, we're always going to have them, and that's how we grow, but we can learn the lesson quickly and deal with the upset and the trauma much quicker with the essences. And I think, you know, you end up with people who are more rounded, who are feeling good about themselves, that self-esteem, self-worth, which is so important, as you said, like going out there and believing in yourself, and also knowing what it is you're here to do. Yeah, I think that's an important one. I think that's what the essences can do. Like we have the 5 corners with that beautiful pink for self-esteem and self-love, but also, you know, things like turkey bush, to get a sense of, why am I here? What did I choose to do this life? And then, you know, once you got a sense of that, becomes quite a strong force. There, I want to follow it now. Wow. And fulfill myself.
To develop more creativity then.
Yes, yeah. Just to know what my path is, and then have the confidence and courage to follow that path. But you got to know it too, as well. Yeah.
Here we are with turkey bush.
Oh, wow. Sorry, my sort of silver princess, I meant to say. Turkey bush is a wonderful one for our creativity. My apologies. So the slender, the silver princess, that sense of where my next step is going, what's my direction. Yeah.
Yeah, because nowadays there are so many confused people, because as you said, after the COVID, there are so many changes in society. There have been so many changes, even in the job they are doing. And sometimes we lose that direction, that sense of purpose, which brings us to the next level. Silver Princess is very used at the moment, is really present for many of us, and he's been used a lot recently, Ian, because, you know, in life we are always changing and going towards new chapters. So
yeah, and I think it's been said that compared to our grandparents' life, we're probably processing 3 to 5 times as many things. So there's likely to be a lot more change. People just don't quite often stay in the same area, and you know, there's change, and happening at a much quicker rate. And I think that's why the essences keep you in balance and know where you're going still.
I remember many years ago seeing a person maybe once per month, and that was enough. And now, since things happen very quickly, you can't see a person within a month. You need to update and do a follow-up maybe after 2 weeks. That would be nice, because you need to give some rhythm, some kind of assessment earlier than before. So it's not like before. Now it's different, isn't it? As there are many changes.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's, you know, for the practitioner to be flexible, that like you said, you know, used to do once a month or see them in a month's time, and just to realize, well, no, that's not enough, and now I need to, you know, change and be open to doing things a little bit differently, because there's so much happening around us, and to have that flexibility like Bohemia to bring through. Yeah.
And the transformation it brings to all of us, it's the starter. I always say to my students, it's like the starter of everything, because we are willing to change, but sometimes we are not ready. So Bohemia helps us to get ready and to bring that change, since we are changing a lot lately.
Yeah, it's got such a nice doctrine of signatures. I really love this. the bauhinia tree. And bauhinia is one of the few species of trees that don't bend. So if it's a really big storm, it stays upright, and if the wind gets strong enough, it just snaps. Whereas, you know, like the lesson is to sort of, you know, go with the flow a little bit more, not just resist. And of course, the butterfly leaf, you know, it's like, what if the caterpillar said, no, I don't want to be I don't want to be a butterfly. I'm just going to stay as a caterpillar. It misses this amazing experience of flying and, you know, freedom and
and flowers, and getting to know more flowers, traveling
exactly.
around. Wow. And also, when you said about Sedum, I had a very an amazing experience taking it, and I think we were prepared to receive Sedum as essence. And what I noticed, for example, within myself, because we always start a new essence within a group of people, just to observe the energy, how it moves, how it goes. And I remember getting that kind of balance, because energy hasn't got any gender at the end of the story, but still we can go towards more a masculine energy, let's say, like more action, or more into being and feel the emotion, which is more feminine, a feminine quality. So what I observed within my community, within the people I've been helping, and within myself as well, that was the effect of balancing this kind of making action, but still feeling what I'm doing. And that was amazing, because sometimes we are always doing and being with that pressure of society, of being in a productive world. So we have a lot of expectations from others also, and society as well. So we are going towards more balance, which was needed at this time. What do you think about that?
Yes, definitely. And, you know, you have with Sedum, you know, just that better communication, more that still point, which is that very feminine of taking in and feeling, getting that awareness. And also, you know, wanting to be part of a group doing something very positive is a very feminine thing. If we think back to, there was a researcher called Hans Saley, and he was one of the first ones to look at stress. And he came up with, in the 1940s, that flight and fight response. But yet all his studies were on men. And what they realized is when women are experiencing that stress, quite often what they'll do, they'll get together in a group and there'll be communication and support within that. And, you know, again, it's that, I see that as being a very feminine aspect of wanting to be part of a group, working together, communicating, doing something very positive. A lot of the masculine is just, here I am, I'm going forward, you know, and often by themselves. But you know, this one has got that balance of both. The same as Colophyllum, as that leadership. It's that sense of, okay, this is where, not just where I need to go, but this is where we need to go as a community and a society. And it's like, come on, come with me. This is where we're going. It's bringing people with them. And it's the new model of leadership. Whereas, you know, the Gaimea Lily, it was almost representing, in the negative aspect, the old models, like someone jumps into a crisis. You do this, you do that. And it doesn't communicate and say, what do you want to do? What's your opinion? It just jumps in and tells everyone what to do. And, you know, people will appreciate that in the crisis it was, you know, good, but they'll feel not valued, not appreciated, that, you know, we've all got something to contribute. And Gaimea Lily allows that person who's a natural leader to sort of step back, allow others to come into their leadership and communicate, not just tell everyone what to do. So I think we're seeing, you know, this remedy helping let go of that old paradigm, and then the Colophyllum bringing in, you know, a more positive paradigm.
The new one. The new one.
The new
also, one. As practitioners, we need to lead clients towards a solution. That's our role. And I've seen so many practitioners having a lot of qualities and very talented, but then with a lot of difficulties in bringing that kind of leadership within themselves. And as we said before, maybe lack of self-confidence, but still there was something missing about the leadership and being exposed to be themselves. And okay, I'll show you the way how to do it. So that would be a very helpful way to contribute to them, to be more present for their clients as well.
Yeah. And I make a point just in the workshops for the practitioners of making sure that they're looking after themselves, because I think their own needs in particular, because a lot of people who get drawn into healing, they want to be of service, they want to help others.
Yeah.
And sometimes we hear some practitioners saying, oh, I haven't had a holiday in 2 years, all my patients need me, there's so many wanting to come that I can't take time out. And it's a bit like when we're flying on the plane and the stewards tell you, oh, if we need oxygen, a mask will fall down. If you've got a child, make sure you put it on yourself first so you're okay, and then you can look after your child.
Yeah.
And I think we need to identify in ourselves as well as our patients that are they looking after themselves. And I think we need to set an example that as practitioners. We often start off having lots of different activities, maybe many friends when we start studying to be a practitioner. And then when we start, we often, sort of get more narrow funnel, that our friends tend to be working in that same modality, that, we don't have time for doing our pottery or our guitar anymore because we're so busy. And I think it's, important to keep that balance as well, and look after our needs, take time out so we've got energy and vitality that we can share that and do that with our clients. And I think the other thing is, I stress, it's important that you really are working in an area that you feel good about, because you need to know that the modality you're using, whether it's the flower essences or whatever, is going to really help that person. Because if you think, oh, gee, I don't think this is going to really be of any benefit to this person, it probably won't. It's like your belief, you really believing in it is really an important part. It's not a placebo. It's just your intention, your energy. You really want to be of help, and you know that what you're doing is going to be of really great service to that person. And being in that mental mindset is very important for the benefit of the patient or the client.
Wow. And which essences would you recommend to maintain that kind of mindset, Ian? Because the practitioners.
Yes, look, I think the 5 corners for that belief in yourself.
Yeah.
And knowing about that, maybe you've done enough study that you know that the incredible results that we can get with the essences. So there's no doubt, the uncertainty, the dog rows, or being a bit fearful or apprehensive about, the outcome. Like you have that real certainty. You've heard from, the people you've been teaching, reading the case histories, reading the books, seeing the incredible results that we can get. And just the normal day-to-day results are quite miraculous in themselves, let alone the such profound healing that we can get. And we have, like yourself, people teaching the bush essences in many different countries. And there's a good friend of mine who's teaching in Natal in the northeast of Brazil. Yeah. And she did a study with 6-year-old children with the university there, and had behavioral problems and learning problems, and just working with the essences. And the results were so spectacular that the state government of Natal got her to train 400 health practitioners in using the essences. And, so really such a beautiful system. It's not expensive. There's no side effects. and you can be, you can be a medical doctor, you can be a psychotherapist, you can be an acupuncturist, you can be a herbalist, the pharmacist, all those different modalities, they can work with the essence. There's no contraindication in using it with homeopathy or acupuncture, that all those modalities can combine with it. And then just knowing, wow, the studying so you understand the vast array of different things it can deal with. It can deal with the learning problems, it can deal with grief and sadness, it can deal with mental health issues. So just to be aware of all the different ways that we can help people with the modality.
They are so safe, as you said. They are so safe, and I always recommend them to pregnant women or elder people, animals, also animals. They can get a lot of benefits from getting the essences, and they are so beneficial for us. Many people. I have a memory, Ian, I don't know if you remember, like 10 years ago, when there was a earthquake, since we were talking about the story, in a region where I come from, which is Umbria, and then you made a donation of the emergency essence, because there was a teacher there teaching to children of primary school, and after the earthquake they didn't want to go to school anymore. They had nightmares at night, because obviously they had a lot of fear coming up from the experience from the earthquake. And then after taking the emergency essence, thanks to your donation that you sent the flowers to them, they started to feel calm again and to enjoy school, especially school, because I was in contact with this teacher, and so kids could stay in the family well, and not with nightmares or fears or worried anymore. So that was such a beautiful experience in a major scale, because there were many kids there. I think there were about 30 kids. So that was amazing, wasn't it? That they can really help us to go through life challenges and experiences.
And I think with the children, and you mentioned the animals too, the remedies work extremely quickly. They haven't built up as many negative blocks and barriers, and they can just work so effectively. So it's really lovely with the children. And after you left, we had some horrendous bushfires all across the country in 2019, in the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, which is, our summertime. And we had about 300 people died in the fires, 10,000 homes destroyed, 3 billion animals. And again, we were donating, especially the mulla, which is fear of fire, hot objects. And we had children who, lost their classmates, died in the fires. And for the first time, they had to think about, death. It's like some of the young children was like, they had the sense that, everyone's always going to be here. My mother and grandmother and, all my friends. And suddenly this whole concept of death came up. And as well as working with the mulla, working with bush iris, fear of death was another one that we used. And just seeing the trauma that we lost 3 billion animals in Australia. Wow. So, giving to the zoos and vets, animal rescue, sort of the mulla and the emergency essence. So it's great that we can, help in these huge crises which come unexpectedly. And we even had people write to us from Europe, from Spain and Italy, saying that they were traumatized by watching the news about
the
that.
News.
And just how the potency of nature. And then since then we've had, in France and Spain, bad bushfires and people dealing with the force of nature. And yet on the other side, nature is giving us these healing gifts, can help us, come back together again after we've experienced the trauma.
Wow. And Ian, a more personal question. Your wisdom, straight from your wisdom. So what the essences, after 40 years creating and working with these essences, was amazing. powers of the flowers. What have the flowers taught you on a personal level?
Look, there's probably many different aspects of the question.
Yeah, I know. But what's the main one?
So a good one to start with. So, like, I think I've learned more about my own nature, and like I think I was. We have what we call the constitutional remedies, and mine's always been Black-Eyed Susan. And I can remember the message I got in meditation with Black-Eyed Susan was, Ian has found his constitutional remedy. Let us hope that he takes it. And I think just working with that remedy, just knowing when to take my, the personality, bringing it, not the extremes where you're always rushing and on the go and impatient and trying to do too many things.
And traveling a lot.
Yeah, like it's bringing the engine, slowing down a little bit. So realizing that inherent nature myself. And I think you always stay the constitutional type, but you can keep it more in boundaries. If you get really sick or stressed, you tend to revert back by default to your constitutional remedy. But by working with the Black-Eyed Susan for me and constitutional remedies for other people, it keeps you more in the balance. You don't have those extreme reactions, but and you can come back pretty quickly. And I think just understanding that nature is part of that spiritual realm, and it's evolving, and as we're evolving, it's giving us those tools to move with the changes. And that there's that benevolence of, spirit really wanting us to grow and move towards the light, and giving us these gifts and tools, and seeing the power of nature and the benevolence and just that love energy coming through, which is open to us if we can take it in. And I think I love teaching, but being with a plant and meditating and getting that communication and message when you just feel like you're at one. I mean, it's such an uplifting experience. I think that's having that connection with the flowers is really, quite wonderful to feel the experience at that level. And, when making an essence, it's so highly charged, so many devas and the nature spirits and the spiritual beings present. And to feel that energy and just to be aware of it. And you go back the next day and it's a nice spot, but it doesn't have that same charge of when you're really working with all the essences, when all those spiritual beings.
And I really like the fact that you brought all this knowledge also to your daily life, remembering working at the bushes headquarters and then meditating all together, or the mother tincture rituals, or when going to the bush, then connecting with the spiritual beings there and getting the permission to enter that space and making the essences and all of that. So that would be really magic and very, very special to do and to practice, because that's the real connection then you bring to the world. Yeah.
And I think that's why I developed the level 3 workshop, which is the main focus as a group, making a remedy together, which we did a couple of days ago in Queensland, making wedding bush together as a group. And because I really want people to be able to feel the magic of what happens when you're really connecting with nature and making a flower essence. So yes, it's a wonderful thing to be able to try and help people develop and have that experience, because there is that great magic with them.
I remember many years ago when going to make the remedies at the level 3 with you, we were in Terry Hills and we made the peach flower tea tree. So that was such an amazing experience. And then we found obviously many other flowers, but we made that essence together. That was very special.
Like you mentioned what I get from the flowers and that work, but like for me, one of the wonderful gifts is the people that have been brought into my life that I've had contact with as a result of working with the flowers, and like, yourself is someone who I have the utmost esteem for, and such a joy, to be here and talking with you and seeing you, so many beautiful people that it's been this opportunity to meet and come into my life, and I feel very blessed with that. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna cry. Thank you so much. It has been such a great journey meeting you. You know, you are my mentor. You've been teaching me so many things that I didn't know before, and I'm really grateful. I'm forever grateful because of your work, your dedication, your love, and really it's amazing what you did these 40 years, you know, these last 40 years and beyond that. So I'm really, really happy to have met you along the journey and to be in this energy together, in this spiritual realm together. So thank you, Ian. I don't know if you want to leave a last message to the practitioners who are listening to us, or those who are afterwards getting the recordings. And I don't know if you want to leave your very last message to all of us.
Yes. Look, when making the essence, sometimes the flowers have this this attitude like, oh, finally someone knows why I'm here. One of the gifts that I'm bringing here. And, you know, nature is, you know, and the flowers, part of their reason for being on the planet is to give their healing gifts. And so they're very happy that we get to know about, we can take it off and help people. So I think my final message is that, you know, we can bring a great deal of love and health and happiness to people, and we don't create any harm in working with this one. So, you know, go out and, you know, really have a lot of fun and enjoy your work with the flowers, and yeah, have a wonderful time.
Oh, thank you, Ian. So when are we going to see you again throughout Europe? Maybe next year?
Yes, I'll be back in May.
Yeah.
So in Europe, and sort of May and June. So
Okay.
yeah, look, and then you know, maybe some of the practitioners listening, they might want to, you know, come to Australia and see the flowers in person. And, you know, if you've taken an essence or prescribed it for someone, when you see that flower in nature, it's like seeing a long lost friend. You might appreciate the other flowers, oh, they're pretty and nice, but the ones that you've already made that energetic connection with, it's like, oh, there's the black-eyed Susan, there's bush guardian, there's waratah, you know. So it's really quite wonderful to see them. So yeah, come and they'll be very happy to see you as well.
That's nice. And also you also are present online, so if someone can really travel, they can find you through your online courses and workshops, right?
Yeah, everything's online except for the kinesiology and bush essence workshop, where we need to be hands-on and practical and checking so they can do them at their own time.
And take action.
And Sarah, can I also just say thank you. I'm very blessed to know you, and I'm so grateful for the wonderful work you do in helping me getting the essences out in the world. So thank you. Big heartfelt thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. So okay, we are at the end. Thank you for being with us today, Ian. We are really grateful for sharing your wisdom with all of us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. And thank you to all listening to our podcast. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao. Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Ian.